An actual revolution.
I heard religion.
So, in terms, I think this is the order that came in terms of this experiment in Iceland, it's Iceland, so it's all geothermal. But yeah, it's energy intensive, and any kind of, the point is that we have to get off fossil fuels, right? And conservation in megawatts, as Rocket Man Institute puts it, that's absolutely essential. But, and we have to also increase the energy content of the world economy. And I think this actually helps deal with the problem of development and poverty, uneven development. And a lot of people in the world, like in Afghanistan, people need to increase their energy consumption, not decrease, right? There are, the bottom billion are people who don't have enough energy. So part of the project of development, part of the project of socialism has to be actually increasing the availability of energy to people, even as here in the north, energy consumption is decreased. And what I was putting forward was not a solution to all our problems, but a kind of credible intervention for people who quietly know about tipping points and don't know what to do about it. And also know that plant trees, nature can do it, isn't realistic. Right? So we have to say something like, have faith and blah, blah, blah. That's not enough for a lot of people, right? They know that none of this other stuff is going to come to pass if we don't deal with this. And so what I'm saying is like, look, here it is. This exists. It can't be brought to scale like capital social relations. The state has to do it. So yeah, energy conservation. In terms of population, I think that argument was won in the 70s. It's not really population. It's the percentage of the population who are over-consuming. What does it matter to the sustainability of the world if the population of Afghanistan doubles? We have like zero impact, essentially, on the consumption of resources and carbon emissions. It simply doesn't matter. Whereas if, another 100 million people start living like Americans, that has major consequences. So I think that population is not really the issue. In terms of the social, all of the larger problems, what I'm talking about is buying time to deal with that. What sort of movements would deal with that? What sort of transition? Well, in many ways, I think that is a question that has been solved, and it is being solved by social movements, right? That, how do we deal with the oppression of women? How do we create class justice in the old-fashioned ways, right, through these struggles? But the question is, we don't have 100 or 200 years to deal with that, right? So how do you credibly make a case that, no, the long struggle is realistic, right? This isn't antiquated. We are still moving towards this, long, big picture, long-term struggle for these kinds of changes. And I think that case is more credible if you say, look, the technologies exist, the money exists, in some cases even the laws exist. There just isn't the political will to, create these stopgap measures to deal with this stuff. Now, in terms of dealing with social relations, in terms of socialism and this sort of stuff, I think one of the problems that we have on the U.S. left is that we don't take the history of what we call actually existing socialism seriously enough, right? It was bad, there was a lot of killing, and so we dismissed it, right? But we overlook things that should be examined. And one was the role of fossil fuels in the Russian Revolution, right? And look at the new left in Latin America, the pink wave that is now being rolled back to some extent. But there were, a lot of people dismiss that. I don't. I've spent a lot of time in Venezuela and Bolivia, and I think it's harder than it looks, actually, to be Evo Morales or Garcia Linares and to run one of the poorest countries, second poorest country in the hemisphere, and to reduce extreme poverty by half. That's significant. And to engage with the social movements in ways, it's not just repression, right? Evo Morales doesn't just repress the social movement. He also has included many people in social movements in government. One thing that those experiments showed is that you can actually move very far on all these social and political economic questions and do nothing about decarbonization. And I've come to the conclusion that decarbonization is actually something separate. And socialism doesn't promise decarbonization. There's nothing magical about socialist movements or socialist states that means you're going to move towards sustainability. You can have a fair and just and unsustainable society, just the way you can have an unjust and unfair unsustainable society. And we have to actually very directly deal with these technologies. And they have to become part of left thinking. We have to grapple with this. And too often there's this idea, well, if we deal with all the relations of repression, then the technology will fall in place. Not if you're Venezuela, not if you're Bolivia, not if you're Russia, and the list could go on. Probably not if you're the USA. And you've also got enormous amounts of fossil fuel, right? This stuff needs to be dealt with directly. So I think that was it. And in terms of, on those questions, that we have social movements that are making progress and have historically made progress on these fronts to get rolled back and go forward. But what we don't have a discourse on, set of techniques for, is this issue of decarbonization. I think it is its own thing, and that the law has to develop ways to deal with it. And in terms of the question of how we would achieve that, I do think that we have to explicitly deal with the question of decarbonization, but it only becomes politically relevant to policy if all of the other issues and social movements are victorious in different places and the left starts taking state power, right? Because only when you have leftists in power who are genuinely committed to people and preserving life on Earth can we move forward on these policies. So to the extent that, what I'm saying is, I'm not saying the left needs to drop everything and just deal with this technology and just deal with carbonization. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying it has to deal with this stuff directly because it is not, in fact, dealt with through all the other struggles and discourses.
We take time for one more round of questions. Keep them, let's say 5 minutes. So two quick questions. Maybe one for both if we can swing it. Michael and, of course, Robin.
So mine is another one for Christian. The question of how to actually deal with this. So I'm totally with you that we have to kind of overcome this pessimism towards technology or skepticism, but I guess we also have to be wary about too much optimism about it, because what we have learned, I guess, is that we are actually never in full control of the technology that we control. So there are always unintended consequences. So how should we deal with this?
Let's see.
Go ahead. We'll take it.
My question was for Diana. In listening to you, I was really struck by many of the things that you mentioned about having lots of kids and being very loyal and certain things that you directly link to Johnson's influence on people and sort of the thinking. But what I was struck by was I was thinking of my own family who were unharmed at the same time. They were having an equal number of children. They had very similar values when they
Yeah.
Let me just ask a quick questions for both of you. One, Diana, it seems to me the way you're charting is the way in which American hegemony in the Golden Age was really constructed in this pre-World War II era. And what we see today, of course, is the absolute implosion of all of these things that you talk about, were not guaranteed, but came to be expected by the white American working class. Of course, there are massive exclusions going on. Cheap, relatively cheap access to homes and food, and the family reproduction model with the housewife and all of that. All of that's now gone. Does that change the question of the class struggle that George F. was trying to win, or did win over the time? And in Christian, I wonder if that's too stark an opposite. I'm not saying that you're drawing an either or here between decarbonization and socialism. And I look at the experience of 20th century socialism and look at the contrast between, say, Russian forced industrialization in the countryside. That's one model. The Chinese Red Revolution, which gives us also the American Green Revolution. And Red Revolution agriculture was more equal, better on gender, less poisonous, although still very fertilizer intensive and maybe still Promethean in various ways, but equally productive. So I'm wondering that it seems to me that, I'm not saying we can always have our cake and eat it too, because I think that you're dealing with a climate emergency in a way that's much more generative than the kind of Bellamy Foster left. It's either we're all going to die or it's going to be socialism. And that seems to me to not be very generative of how do we get from here to there. But just looking at socialism, we had very different, the Chinese road, such as it was very different. I think had a different relationship with the rest of nature than we saw in the Soviet model, where we get Lenin's unfortunate phrase, electrification plus Soviets equals communism. Not to give Lenin a bad rap here, but that was an unfortunate turn of phrase. But you're right, you need electrification. That's not a small thing. So how do we deal with that? That was also part of Lenin's celebration of Taylorism, unfortunately. I think there are different socialist visions of how to deal with the problem of nature that need to be teased out. I don't have the answer, but so anyway, I just wanted to reinforce.
You want to go?
I think I don't necessarily have an answer for how to deal with the unintended consequences of technology, but one thing that both your questions suggest, and that I've been thinking about since the crisis in Greece, the role of experts is really important. And one of the problems in the U.S. left is that we're, we have this kind of like, what's been called anarcho-liberalism, and it's kind of weird horizontal aesthetic. We're against experts. Experts are bad. Well, then lo and behold, what happens in Greece, right? Saracen comes into power, and there's this whole question about whether they're going to, leave the euro or not, which wasn't really the real question. The real question was whether or not they were going to break the rules and take over the central bank and print renegade euros, stay within the euro, but just, basically start having renegade euros. They even had a press, and there's Greek-denominated notes. Why didn't they do that? And everyone was like, because they didn't have the guts, or blah, blah, blah. They didn't have the expertise. They never even got to the question of like, do we have the guts to do this? They didn't have the ability. They didn't have the expertise to actually do that stuff. So what we need also is this, like, a kind of left technocratic expertise. This is very important for answering these kind of questions.
Red and experts.
Yeah, what was that?
Red and experts.
Yes, red and expert. And this also gets into the question of social change. Like, what are we supposed to do? And, everyone has to do different things, right? There's no one thing. And Wendy's point yesterday, I thought was great. Like, we should all get involved in local struggles, and get involved in local invisible movements, whatever, various movements are going on. But there is also, there has to be a division of labor, and there has to be a kind of development of technological expertise around these questions of sustainability. It is happening, and far too often, those people don't know about Marxism, they don't know about world ecology. They have this kind of, mainstream, circa 1975, really technocratic mentality. So I think the answer lies somewhere in the development of that kind of expertise. And also, I guess, it also never, you suggest a problem that, for which there ultimately is no solution, it's just something that we manage.
Nice. Robin, very quickly, yes, there was vast urbanization in the United States during that time, and so it was something that these policies and company towns or pseudo company towns that aren't actually, well, this one was named after the company, but later. So, like the Pullman towns, and these were often celebrated in popular media and whatnot. In terms of this issue of loyalty with farm workers who become industrial workers, I think that the farms had, the women of farm women had lots of children to help on the farm, and then the unmarried children would go to the cities to earn money to come to send back to the farms. And I think that the loyalty to the farm was very deep, and that was able to be capitalized upon and shifted and transformed into loyalty to the company by the farm workers. And I think that's what this project is all about, is shifting the loyalty and the efforts that go towards making a farm flourish to the efforts to making the factory flourish in every strand of the web of life. And I think that's where this story is similar to the stories of your people. Yeah. And Jason, I think that there is something going on here, and I think that now that all of these great benefits and the idea of stability and all of that are gone, I think that it does make a difference. And I think what's happened mostly based on the research, because I did do interviews with people in Binghamton about food poverty and around that, and this is what led me to the history of the area, because so many people talked about how it was so different for them, their parents and their grandparents. And there was this fundamental sense of betrayal, somehow EJ had betrayed them. And I think that ties in with Christian's premise that people who understand the science respond in despair. They have despair about this. And I think that that's what's happening to the working class too. I think there's this deep despair for the underemployed and the unemployed and those who are just struggling to feed their families every day, that I think what Wendy was saying yesterday morning is what we need to do. We need to teach them narratives that subvert the popular discourse, the dominant discourses. And I think that all is, A, what is different in terms of the class struggle, and B, how we move forward with it. Because I think Christian's plan to have this acute intervention to resolve the climate emergency is necessary in order to have any kind of class struggle revolution in the first place. Yeah.
Can I say one more thing about your paper? I thought one thing that you that this shows is actually the indirect power of the left, right? What I was seeing in the subtext is the threat that how unions and socialism achieved this. I mean, you're describing this, I was like, it doesn't sound that bad, this welfare capitalism in the 1920s. But why does that happen? Partly because of what's happening across the river, right? The cigar strike, all sort of stuff. And I think that's really heartening, right? That we have to remember that the left achieves victories indirectly as well by humanizing its enemies, by forcing anticipatory transformations and concessions and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's all related.
Absolutely. Big round of And to make sure everyone has room to transition, time to transition and get